Welcome, partners. I'm Kyle DeWitt, Vice President of Technical Services for ScanSource, and I'm glad that you've joined us for a new series of content we're creating on returning to the office. As our industries begin the transition to the new normal, or what some are calling the next normal, our customers are looking to all of us to help them navigate the technology challenges associated with getting back in the office. Today, we're bringing you a panel discussion specifically focused on the education space and therefore the return to school. So joining me on the panel today, I've got a few experts from our suppliers, Avaya, Axis, and Cisco, all represented, to discuss these trends and what these folks are seeing in the space. So thank you for joining us, gentlemen. I'm going to start with Don Turner from Avaya. If you can just give us a quick intro on you and your role with Avaya and why education, this specific space is relevant to you guys.
Sure. So my name is Don Turner. I'm the regional sales leader for SLED accounts for the East Coast of the United States. So I cover basically Maine to Florida and then over to Indiana down through Mississippi. So it's pretty wide swath of things, a lot of higher education, a lot of K through 12 in those regions. And the education for us is really a key vertical because of our ability to be able to implement new technology around basically three areas. One is campus safety solutions, so making sure that the faculty and the staff and the students are safe in their schools. And then the other is the education quality, making sure that we're able to deliver education material and collaboration tools that help engage the enrichment of the student through the process. And then the last is recruitment, because colleges are recruiting for different areas, for better students, for better student athletes, whatever it is, and to be able to leverage technology to create that sort of competitive advantage within our school systems and universities to get the best students and talent profiles and educational needs that they have.
Thank you, Don. So Bruce, we'll move to you. I know safety and security is near and dear to Axis's heart, which we'll get into later, but why don't you start with an intro of you and your role and your company.
Very well. Thank you, Kyle. Thanks to ScanSource for putting this together. My name is Bruce Canal. I am the Segment Development Manager for Education with Axis Communications. My role is strictly education, both K-12 and higher ed. My territory is the Americas. Easiest thing to say is I'm from Canada all the way south. So I'm a one-man show, but I have a lot of regional sales managers around the Americas that I work with a lot. It is important to us. Education is one of our 8 primary segments that Axis works into. I hail as a former security director for a very large school district in Florida and former law enforcement as well. So this is near and dear to my heart. Our goal is to try to be innovative, try to look at new solutions, try to come up with ideas that will help the schools, especially now in this new normal, as we call it, or whatever we're going to call this, trying to look at some of the solutions that we have and see if they will fit into the solutions that schools are looking for.
Yep. Now, moving to Dr. Ford, you now have the challenge to continue the continuity. We've established an interest in security and the state of Florida. So I know I believe you're in Oklahoma, so this might be a challenge for you, but Dr. Ford's our last panelist representing Cisco. So I'll extend the microphone to you to do your introduction.
Well, thank you, Kyle. I don't know that I can quite tie in. I've always told people I'm the one kid who's doing his own thing from the Sesame Street skit, in the corner over there. I am a full-time Cisco employee, but I'm housed in a public school. And I actually teach classes here 5 days a week. I also teach online for our regional college. And if you're watching this, if you're your finalist next week, you need to turn this off and get on that right now. And then for Cisco, I teach teachers all over the world. So since for the last 10 years, I've been working with teachers from Iraq to Australia and from Canada to Sao Paulo and everywhere in between. And what I'm passionate about is really teaching and learning. And I think the thing that Cisco brings to this equation, Cisco touts the largest classroom on the planet with 1 million students on an annual basis as a part of Netiquette, which is absolutely amazing. But beyond technology, really Cisco tools are meant to be the conduit for teaching and learning and not the topic necessarily of teaching and learning. So I work with teachers who are using regular learning management systems. I work with middle school teachers on global IoT projects where they're talking about brainstorming through GPS to Siri. So it really is a matter of delivering the education process. Yes, safety, yes, security, yes, collaboration. But I think at the end of the day, Cisco is an amazing glue factory tying all of those elements together for classroom teachers and administrators.
Yep, great. Yeah, I definitely, we queued you guys up with some questions, and I definitely want to get. I think you're going to have some unique insight into some of the institutions, literally, because you're sitting in one now. So Don, let's go back to you. So you talked initially about some of IS focuses in this space, but let's start the conversation with just calling out what we think are the most significant challenges that our education customers are facing in regards to an on-campus experience. We all know remote learning or hybrid environments, those are going to be relevant, and there's a huge technology element to those for sure. I hope we get to some time to speak on that today, but let's look at on campus and what types of challenges people are facing in trying to get back literally into the schools.
Well, I think the key point is every situation is going to be a little bit different, right? I don't know that there's a one size fits all return to campus model for anybody. We hear one school district here in Florida says one thing. I heard from another gentleman up in Virginia today that his school district is saying something almost completely opposite. So I think each one is weighing out the pros and cons. I think the parents are concerned about student safety, about returning to campus. So all of that has to be involved. Return to campus may not mean putting everybody in one classroom. Maybe it means taking one classroom and spreading them out across multiple rooms for safety reasons, and then giving them collaboration tools to be able to do that. Right? How do we equip them to be able to do that? I think the other thing is you look at the remote areas, cloud-based computing, mobile technology. I mean, a lot of those things can be leveraged to do things. But I think as technologists or as technology providers, we also have a good opportunity here because for them, everything has changed. I mean, for any business, any segment, any vertical you want, and everything has changed in the last 4 or 5 months, and will probably remain changed from what it was before. I was telling my team, everything we did to be successful a year ago is not applicable today. So if we're going to give them new tools to be able to generate and do new things or collaborate in different ways or get learning in new ways, let's put something in front of them that can challenge them, right?
Yep.
Let's just not repeat what we were doing before. If we have the opportunity to make it better, let's make it better. So we look at the applications, the integration of different tools and applications in with communications and blending those together. Creating the ability to create a software service and delivery service to really endorse and encourage learning across the way. Don't have students just answering questions, just have students asking questions. So we could set up arrangements within facilities, keep them safe, put them in touch with experts as they need it, with online tools and collaboration tools, get them more information and starting to think and starting to question a little better. Right, asking better questions.
Yeah, it's a great point. You and Dr. Ford both mentioned collaboration for sure, and collaboration is two ways. It's not one way. This isn't a one-to-many education experience anymore, and it never really was when you're in the school. You have to have the engagement from the students, or they're not learning. But we're seeing more and more of these e-school, e-learning things pop up for sure, and I've got grade schoolers that are referenced earlier, and we attended a class that we found on a Facebook ad, for instance, and it was a class on a bearded dragon. We have a bearded dragon, and this targeted ad pops up, and I went, okay, for $19, I'd love to attend this thing, and it was the most engaging education experience my child had participated in since they went to remote learning. So Dr. Ford, I mentioned you just a second ago from the collaboration space, but I'd love to see if we can get some a unique use case from me if you've got one. I keep looking at things like daycares versus public school grade schools versus private grade schools versus higher learning. There's a bunch of different, we covered it at intros. There's a lot of different unique challenges that they're facing. But maybe something that's kind of a corner case that you're seeing or running into that people might not have thought of.
Well, so from my perspective, just so you guys know, I'm in rural Oklahoma. There are 800 people in this town. When I say rural, that's what I mean, okay? And I'm at a school, my wife teaches here. Both of our kids are in 2 different colleges. One of the interesting things that reared its head the other day when my son received his email for his fall classes was it said, the teacher will decide how the fall class will be delivered. So you may show up to class physically, but the teacher may have decided, hey, I'm delivering this all online, or yeah, can we come in on Wednesday nights instead of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or can we do some sort of so a lot of places are putting the onus of the responsibility as to the how-tos even for the class on the teacher's back. And I think that's one of the first times we've ever seen that. In traditional higher education especially, you've got your online classes, you got your in-person classes, and sometimes never the twain shall mix. Now we're telling teachers, hey, I know what it said on the catalog when they enrolled, but this is your call for this fall. So that's one of the interesting things that's happening on the teacher side of the house. On the parent side of the house, my wife and I went to lunch at Mazzio's today, ran into one of our parents from school here, and big tears in her eyes, God love her. She said, I'm so excited about the fall, and I understand why you have to do what you have to do. And I have 3 kids, and 2 of them I'm real comfortable sending back, but the third one, I just don't know. So what's happening is parents are, as you said, schools are doing a variety of different things, right? And what we've decided to do is say there are really 3 options for you. And it doesn't even need to be a household decision. It can be a decision down to the individual learner. Physically come on site. We will social distance. We'll ask you to wear a mask. Please sign this thing and tell us you're not going to sue us if you get COVID, right? Or online, 100%. You'll be able to schedule office hours via Google Classroom and the WebEx plugin with your faculty member and do those sorts of things. Or maybe you're not comfortable for the first couple of weeks, or maybe there's a spike in cases a month down the road and you feel like you want your child removed from that situation, have them join from the house or remote location. So parents are now, for the first time ever, wrestling within their household between their own students, how they'll participate based on their learner style, based on their attention span, based on their age, maybe even based on who that teacher would be. And so it's really a unique situation, as we're all pointing out here.
Yeah, even in the public school system, parents are now have a lot more control over how their kids receive education. It's brand new. It's a brand new experience for us, for sure.
It is.
And, it's an interesting time. And so I want to come back to remote learning, but Bruce, we've been talking a little bit about physically returning back to the office, and that space I know is one that Access plays in very well. But what kinds of technology are you guys getting asked about in an effort to try to create security and safety for the faculty, staff, educators, and kids if they do return back to school?
Well, a lot of the things I'm being questioned about now, there's funds involved. We're always concerned because, this is going to tax a lot of school districts. It's going to cost them some money to make some changes that they're doing right now. Some of the things that were on the plans are getting sidelined. So there's some security technology issues that might be pushed off to 2021, maybe even fall of 2021. But, probably more than anything that we get asked about is what does Access offer, or any company for that matter, offer that could help us in this whole COVID-19 trying to, plans that the CDC is trying to keep us 10 meters apart. CDC wants us to wear a mask, and they're putting 1 student on a bus seat at a time, and a lot of things that's causing some angst among a lot of the school administrators. And even as we are right now, 6 to 8 weeks away from the start of schools, most of them across the country, there's still a lot have not made the final decisions yet on how they're going to do this. Whether it's going to be online e-learning, or it's going to be all physical, come back to the school. Is it every other day of class, every third day of class, every other week of class? What we are seeing and what we're talking about are the things that we have today that most of our end users, and we hope that our integrators can share with their end users, and that is things that might help in combating or trying to mitigate the spread of the virus. And that is things like contactless access control. It might be analytics on cameras to be able to watch the numbers of people in the hallway, the number of students in a classroom, those kind of things. We're certainly concerned about maybe on the e-learning side, broadcast quality cameras, and Dr. Ford has some things he's shown in his stuff that, those are the kind of things that maybe we might evolve to. We're in uncharted territory right now, Kyle, and we don't know where we're going to go with this. And we just don't know. You got to add the one other twist to this. If the COVID-19 virus becomes even worse than it is today, and it's pretty bad today, then we may, in the month of November, postpone school again.
Yep.
Those students going to a campus might be told to go back to e-learning. So we're kind of feeling our way through this. We're just saying, take maybe what you've got in existence, whether it's intercom, audio access on the doors, whether it's access control on the doors, maybe add more, maybe better utilize it because it's probably been underutilized. Power your doors so they open automatically. Some things like that we're trying to talk about on how maybe to mitigate the spread of the virus.
Yeah. Our company ScanSource has cut its teeth in barcode scanning, point of sale retail environments, and there's a huge push right now just in that space to go contactless, and that's a lot easier done in a retail space than it is in an education space with all of the
education's far more difficult.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right. So I'm glad we got to each one of you here. I'm going to do a couple of all plays here. So let's just chime in. Bruce, we'll stick with you since you're here. But we talked a lot about how to get people physically back into the buildings and the things that we're concerned with there. But how ready do you feel like our public education systems are for remote learning? I noted both you and Don almost said the word budget, right? You were talking about purchasing decisions, and that's one of those questions that I have right now, which is I know some of these institutions have pre-approved budgets, and trying to get budget dollars now to invest in new technology to improve the experience for the upcoming fall may be difficult. But let's say we're not back in the building completely, or we're in Dr. Ford's hybrid version of education. How ready do you think these public school systems are for remote learning?
Kyle, I don't know what the specific percentage is, but I think all of us on this panel recognize that there's still parts of this country that either A, do not have internet access, and B, students that don't have access, meaning their parents have either elected not to purchase internet connection or maybe can't afford internet connection. I think that's a critical piece. We've learned from spring of 2020 that, and the proof is going to be in the pudding, in that once we test our students in this fall of 2020, really to see how much they did learn over the spring of 2020. I'm hoping that they did learn the level they should have in that last 4 or 5 months. But then again, there were a lot of students that had, as we call it, technical difficulties.
That's right. Yep.
They couldn't get a connection, or it just wasn't the quality. It didn't hold their attention span. I've heard all kinds of things from students and faculty alike. So I think that's the one piece that maybe the four of us can't really fix. I can't go into the individual's home and give them 100 megabytes a second of internet speed.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's the piece I can't fix. One of the things that we are talking about at Axis, and many of you already know, it's the CARES Act. It was a congressional act. It's $31.5 million going to be sent to the K-12 world to help them combat the COVID-19 effects. But a lot of folks do not realize that it's deliberately meant to be ambiguous, because they're not telling the folks in Omaha, Nebraska, that you've got to do it this way, when the folks in Dallas, Texas do it differently. So the funds are being pushed out. I think those funds can be used in our technology world for contactless entry. It could be used for broadcast quality video. It could possibly be used to help students with their internet issues, maybe with a 4G quality device that they could attach to their laptop. I think it's meant to be potentially a way for the schools to think about mitigating that disconnection you're having on the e-learning side.
Yeah, we saw some local school buses outfitted with Wi-Fi essentially, and they were parking and creating hotspots for families that didn't have in-home or broadband at home. So Don, coming back to you, I'm glad you mentioned the funding, Bruce, but that's got to be right in your wheelhouse, Don, right? So leading a regional sales team that focuses on SLED, what are you seeing people adopting, and how easy is it for them to get the funding to enable remote learning?
So the biggest challenge we're seeing is there's a couple of areas. One is, you mentioned the B word, budget, and a lot of that is funded through bond bills and other financial capabilities that come in a large bucket, but then there's no dependence or dependability of future buckets. And so when you look at things like cloud services that are billed monthly or annually, all of a sudden it becomes hard because you're going to sign a 5-year contract with a cloud company to deliver cloud-based service access. And to Bruce's point, you don't know about that last mile to that person's house, because you could deliver the most efficient content over the most purest network from your place, but if it doesn't get to the far end with a quality experience, it's not a quality experience, right? And the students suffer from that. But the funding part of it is, it's almost easier for them to purchase as a capital expense and have a premise element, even though they need a cloud element, but maybe the right solution is a hybrid of that. So I use my IT bond funding to get the capabilities for the premise that I need to house that and to be able to extend to reach to the remote students through that. But then I also have a supplemental cloud-based capability that's tied with that premise capability that lets me deliver to fully remote students and faculty. So I think maybe it's a blend of that spending, because they can't afford all OpEx spending.
That's right.
And you can't guarantee that they're going to get more capital spending in the future.
Yeah, that's right. So Dr. Ford, we'll come back to you to help us kind of close out our session today. And I'll switch a little bit, just the question, because I'm glad, Don, you went that route with it, because part of, our audience today are our mutual customers, right? These are ScanSource partners that buy your products and solutions. And so Dr. Ford, you can just give us a quick piece of advice for the partners that are here trying to help their customers navigate this time and this type of unique time in technology spend. I think you have a unique view of it, since you're literally sitting there. You also represent this a supplier, but I'm sure you guys have technology partners that you work with.
Yeah, no one's going to like my answer, but I'm going to put on my teacher hat and my administrator hat and talk to you from that perspective. Please listen. Okay. This is about building a relationship. And I know that as we're talking about this, we're talking about funding resources that are currently available, not available, budgetary things. Guys, the bottom line is what you're proposing a part of a shot in the arm to get over a COVID hump? Or is this a cultural shift in education that's going to impact us for years to come? And I think the more that we as schools can have a discourse around a sustainable model, I don't know what the next COVID is going to be. You don't know what the next COVID is going to be. It may not be a COVID, but there will be something, right? Yep. And then it turns into sort of who has the competitive edge as a school district. I mean, in the state of Oklahoma, it's open transfer, right? So if you want to come here and we're willing to accept you, I've got kids coming 40 miles one way over the mountain to the south and the north. So this really becomes we need a long-term process to actually change the culture. And what you can provide me is not a PowerPoint, but an experiential conversation where I can actually get my hands on it virtually as much as possible, where you can walk me through it and let me experience it and vision myself how that might impact my campus. So if you can do that for me, you're going to be my trusted partner as we move move forward.
Yeah, I think that's the key word there, right? Trusted, right? The trusted advisors are what we're all trying to build. Don, how about you? Last shot here, just as you said, shot in the arm for the partners. What do they need to know to help navigate this time?
I'm in 100% agreement with Dr. Ford. I mean, we have to listen to our customer. I mean, they are going through a tremendous amount of change. And the only way we help them is that we understand and acknowledge that change and are ready to help them to be able to combat that change or to embrace that change. I mean, depending on, if it's a good change or a bad change.
That's right.
But really creating and helping them figure out, how do I solve this puzzle? How do I make this work? Because at the end of it, the whole idea is about building a better student. If we don't build better students, we're not building a better country.
Yep.
And that's really what it comes down to. The education is the foundation of what we do. And without that, and as we continue to decline that because of this reason or that reason, whatever you want to tag on it, we have to make the system better for everybody, for the students, for the faculty, everybody.
Yep.
And
All
that's
right,
what
Bruce.
we want to be able to do.
Yep. Sorry, Don.
Well,
Sorry.
I'm
Go
going
ahead,
to echo what Don and Dr. Ford are saying, but in a little different way. I think as much as we need to listen, I think that our end users, our integrators, and those that going to those end users need to just make sure that they don't come across as trying to be that trunk slamming sales guy that's trying to capitalize on COVID-19.
Yep.
I can just feel my days when I used to be kind of like Dr. Ford's situation when I was in the school district. And it seemed like right after we would have another tragic event someplace in the country, my phone would start ringing. They want to talk to me about active shooter programs. They want to talk to me about gun detection programs. They want to talk, and my respect level really just diminished for those type of people who I see were just trying to capitalize on a moment.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Ford said, and Don said the same thing. Where are we going to be in 1 year, in 5 years? I don't really know. And I said earlier, the proof is going to be in the pudding. We just might find out, gentlemen, that this e-learning of 2020 in the spring of 2020 was not as bad as we are thinking it was. Kids might have really comprehended. They might have learned something the spring of 2020. So maybe there will be more e-learning. I don't know yet. I'm just saying. So we don't know where it's going. I'm just saying I think we should listen and don't come in as someone who's trying to capitalize on a COVID-19 situation.
Yeah, this is going to create a culture of efficiency and convenience, right? And it's happening in this space and outside of this space. It's going to create a lot of demand for a change, a permanent change in the way we receive education, for sure. Right? There's no going back to the 5 days a week stuck in brick and mortar. That there's no way. So
and let me add one other thing real quickly.
Yep.
Our end users are looking for trusted vendors, looking for trusted professionals to help them. You cannot imagine, guys, how tough it is for these people, these senior administrators right now trying to figure out what they're going to do. They're looking for people, subject matter experts, to help them in these decisions.
Yep. Yeah, so I appreciate it, guys. I'm going to wrap up. I'm getting the hook, but I appreciate Don, Bruce, Dr. Ford, you guys joining us today. We tried to cram a lot of really good information into a short period of time. Everybody that's on this call is here because we mutually are bringing these solutions to our partners. So as a call to action, I would say if you're interested in learning more about how to enable your customers through this transition in returning to office or returning to school, please reach out to ScanSource, your account manager at ScanSource, or one of the sales engineers on my team. We are here to help you. I represent these gentlemen and their brands in finding the right solutions. There's more information on our website specific to our Go RTO or Return to Office program. So with that, I will close things out. Again, thank you very much for your time today, Don, Bruce, and Dr. Ford. And have a great afternoon.